Have you ever noticed how one single opinion can destroy your entire mood? One person ignores your message, and suddenly your mind starts questioning your worth. One person criticizes you, and you replay their words for hours. One person refuses to validate your effort, and you begin doubting your entire identity. Why? Why do human beings hand over their peace so easily? Why do we allow strangers, co-workers, friends, family members, social media followers, or even people who secretly envy us to control our emotions? The Buddha once taught something most people never truly understand. The root of suffering is attachment. And today, your deepest attachment may not be money, or relationships, or success. It may be validation, the addiction to being approved, the obsession with being accepted, the silent hunger to be seen as enough. But here is a dangerous truth nobody tells you. The more you seek validation from the world, the weaker your mind becomes. Because the moment your happiness depends on someone else's opinion, you become emotionally fragile. And fragile minds break easily. This is why so many people today are exhausted. Not physically, mentally. They constantly perform, constantly prove, constantly explain themselves, constantly chase approval from people who are also lost. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize they are trapped. They think they are living freely, while secretly becoming slaves to opinions. A slave to likes, a slave to attention, a slave to praise, a slave to being chosen, a slave to being noticed. But Buddha's wisdom points toward a completely different path. A path where your peace does not depend on applause. A path where rejection no longer destroys you. A path where silence no longer scares you. A path where you become mentally unbreakable. Imagine waking up one day and no longer feeling desperate to impress anyone. Imagine speaking without fear of judgment. Imagine being ignored and still feeling complete. Imagine losing approval, but never losing yourself. That is real freedom. And very few people ever experience it, because society trains you from childhood to seek external approval. As a child, you were rewarded when others approved of you. Good grades, good behavior, good appearance, good reputation. Slowly, your brain learned a dangerous lesson. My value depends on other people's reactions. And from that moment, suffering quietly began. You stopped asking, what feels true to me? And started asking, what will make people accept me? This is how people lose themselves. Not suddenly, but slowly. One fake smile at a time. One forced personality at a time. One hidden emotion at a time. Until eventually, they no longer know who they really are. The Buddha warned against this illusion thousands of years ago. He taught that attachment to identity creates suffering. And today, social media has turned identity into performance. People no longer live. They advertise themselves. They don't ask, am I at peace? They ask, how do I appear? And because of this, millions of minds are constantly anxious. Because when your identity depends on external approval, your emotional stability becomes temporary. One compliment makes you happy. One criticism destroys you. This is not inner peace. This is emotional dependence. And dependence always creates fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood, fear of not being enough. But Buddha's teachings offer something radical. Freedom from psychological dependence, not by becoming cold, not by becoming emotionless, but by becoming deeply aware. Because awareness breaks illusion. The illusion says, I need others to approve of me before I can value myself. But awareness says, my worth exists whether people recognize it or not. Read that again carefully. Your worth exists whether people recognize it or not. The sun does not ask permission to shine. The ocean does not beg for applause before creating waves. Nature never seeks validation. Only insecure minds do. And insecurity grows when we abandon ourselves. Think about how many times you stayed silent to avoid judgment. How many times you pretended to agree just to be accepted. How many times you changed your personality depending on who was around. That is not confidence. That is survival behavior. And most people are trapped inside it without realizing. They are terrified of disapproval because their identity is built on outside reactions. This is why criticism hurts some people so deeply. Not because criticism is powerful, but because their self-worth is weak. A mentally strong person can listen to criticism without collapsing internally. Why? Because their identity is not dependent on praise. And this is where Buddhist wisdom becomes life-changing. The Buddha never taught people to control the world. He taught people to control the mind. Because once the mind is disciplined, the world loses power over you. People can insult you, ignore you, reject you, misunderstand you, but none of it can destroy your inner peace unless you allow it. This is mental freedom. And most people never reach it because they are too busy chasing acceptance. But here's a question that may change your life forever. What if the people you desperately want validation from are deeply insecure themselves? What if the crowd you fear disappointing is also terrified of judgment? What if the people judging you secretly judge themselves even harder? You see, insecure people often project insecurity onto others. That is why seeking validation is endless. No amount of approval ever truly satisfies an untrained mind. You get praise today and crave more tomorrow. You get attention today and fear losing it tomorrow. This creates emotional addiction, and addiction destroys peace. The Buddha understood this deeply. He understood that the human mind constantly reaches outward looking for completion, but external things can never permanently complete internal emptiness. Not praise, not attention, not status, not popularity. Because the problem is not outside. The problem is the belief. I am incomplete without approval. And once you believe that, you hand your emotional control to the world. That is dangerous because the world changes constantly. People change constantly. Opinions change constantly. If your peace depends on unstable things, your mind will always feel unstable too. This is why mentally strong people develop something rare, internal validation. They stop asking the world, "Do you approve of me?" and start asking themselves, "Am I living truthfully?" That question changes everything, because truth creates peace. Performance creates exhaustion. Many people are exhausted not because life is hard, but because pretending is hard. Pretending to be perfect, pretending not to care, pretending to fit in, pretending to be someone they are not. And eventually, the soul becomes tired. This is why so many people feel disconnected from themselves. They abandon authenticity for approval. But Buddha's teachings remind us that attachment to false identity creates suffering. And the moment you stop performing for validation, your healing begins. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will support you. Not everyone will like you. And that is completely okay, because peace was never supposed to come from other people's opinions. Real peace comes from mastering your own mind. Most people think mental strength means never feeling pain, but that is not true. Real mental strength is feeling pain without losing yourself inside it. And this is exactly where validation addiction becomes dangerous. Because when your identity depends on how people react to you, every rejection feels like a threat to your existence. Someone ignores you, and your mind panics. Someone disagrees with you, and your peace disappears. Someone criticizes you, and suddenly you question your value. Why does this happen? Because deep down, the mind has attached self-worth to external approval. This is what Buddha warned humanity about. Attachment creates suffering, not because desire itself is evil, but because attachment makes your emotional state dependent on unstable conditions. And people are unstable. One day they praise you. The next day they judge you. One day they support you. The next day they abandon you. If your inner peace depends on changing human opinions, your life becomes emotional chaos. That is why mentally weak people constantly need reassurance. They need approval to feel attractive, approval to feel intelligent, approval to feel successful, approval to feel important. Without external confirmation, they feel empty. But here is the hidden truth. The need for constant validation is usually a symptom of inner disconnection. When people truly know themselves, they stop desperately trying to convince others. Think about the mountains. They do not announce their greatness. They simply stand. Powerful people are often quiet internally, not because they lack emotion, but because they no longer need constant recognition. The Buddha understood that inner stillness creates unshakable strength, but modern society trains the opposite. Today, people are rewarded for attention-seeking behavior. The louder the performance, the more visibility it gets. And slowly, human beings begin confusing attention with worth. But attention is not love. Attention is not peace. Attention is not self-respect. Many people with the most attention are internally suffering because external admiration cannot heal internal emptiness. That is why some people become addicted to social media validation. Every notification becomes emotional dopamine. Every like becomes temporary relief. Every compliment becomes psychological fuel. But once the attention disappears, anxiety returns. This creates emotional dependency. And dependency always weakens the mind. A truly free person can sit alone without feeling worthless. That is power. A truly peaceful person does not need to constantly prove their value. That is wisdom. And a mentally unbreakable person understands something most people never realize. Rejection is not destruction. Read that carefully. Rejection is not destruction. The human ego interprets rejection as danger because it fears abandonment. But Buddha taught that suffering often comes not from reality, but from mental interpretation. Someone rejecting you does not reduce your value. Someone misunderstanding you does not erase your truth. Someone failing to appreciate you does not make you unworthy. The problem is that most people personalize everything. If someone loses interest, they think, I'm not enough. If someone criticizes them, they think, I must be flawed. If someone leaves, they think, I failed. But mentally strong people see differently. They understand that human behavior often reflects internal struggles, preferences, fears, projections, and limitations, not objective truth. This realization changes your entire emotional life, because once you stop taking everything personally, you stop suffering unnecessarily. Imagine how much emotional energy people waste every day worrying about opinions. What are they thinking about me? Do they approve of me? Did I say something wrong? Do I look successful enough? Am I impressive enough? This mental prison drains life itself. And the cruel irony is this. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves to think about you as much as you fear. The ego creates imaginary spotlights. It convinces people they are constantly being judged. But Buddha's wisdom dissolves ego illusions through awareness. Awareness allows you to observe your thoughts instead of blindly believing them. For example, a thought appears. They don't like me. Most people emotionally react immediately, but awareness pauses and asks, is this objectively true or is this fear speaking? That small moment of awareness can save years of suffering, because thoughts are not always reality. And emotionally weak minds treat every thought like truth. This is why meditation was so important in Buddhist teachings. Meditation is not about escaping life. It is about observing the mind clearly. When you observe the mind deeply, you begin noticing how often insecurity controls behavior. You notice how much of your personality was built for approval. You notice how often fear shapes your decisions. You notice how often you betray your authentic self just to avoid rejection. And this awareness can feel uncomfortable at first, because truth destroys illusions. But that discomfort is also the beginning of liberation. A person who no longer fears disapproval becomes dangerous to manipulation. Think about that. The world controls people through emotional dependence, fear of exclusion, fear of criticism, fear of being disliked. This is why many people stay trapped in toxic relationships. Why? Because they fear losing validation more than losing peace. This is why many people silence their real opinions, because acceptance feels safer than authenticity. This is why many people never chase their true purpose, because they fear judgment from others who never had the courage to follow their own dreams. Validation addiction silently destroys human potential. It turns powerful minds into approval-seeking performers. But Buddha's teachings call you towards something higher. Inner authority, the ability to stand alone psychologically, not arrogantly, not selfishly, but peacefully. A lion does not lose sleep over the opinions of sheep, and a calm mind does not collapse because of criticism. This does not mean ignoring all feedback. Wisdom listens carefully, but wisdom does not emotionally surrender itself to every opinion. That is the difference. Weak minds absorb every judgment emotionally. Strong minds evaluate without attachment, and this creates emotional stability. Imagine becoming the type of person who remains calm whether praised or criticized. Most people cannot imagine that level of freedom because their emotions rise and fall based on external reactions. But Buddha taught the middle path: balance, non-attachment, inner awareness. This does not mean becoming emotionless. It means becoming emotionally intelligent. You still feel emotions, but emotions no longer control your identity. That is mastery. And mastery requires one painful realization. Not everyone will understand your journey. Some people will misunderstand your silence. Some people will dislike your growth. Some people will feel uncomfortable when you stop seeking approval. Why? Because insecure people often feel threatened by authentic confidence. When you no longer need validation, you stop becoming controllable. You stop begging for acceptance. You stop shrinking yourself for comfort. You stop explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. And suddenly, your energy changes. You become calmer, more focused, more emotionally grounded. Not because life became easier, but because your mind became stronger. This is why Buddha emphasized attachment. Not detachment from love, but detachment from emotional dependency. There is a massive difference. You can love deeply without becoming psychologically enslaved. You can care without losing yourself. You can connect without becoming emotionally desperate. That is healthy strength. And the more your inner world stabilizes, the less power external chaos has over you. There comes a moment in life when a person becomes tired, not physically tired, spiritually tired, tired of pretending, tired of proving, tired of chasing approval from people who are still searching for themselves. And for many people, that moment becomes the beginning of awakening, because eventually, the soul realizes something powerful. No amount of external validation can create internal peace. You can become admired and still feel empty. You can become popular and still feel anxious. You can become successful and still fear rejection. Why? Because the problem was never the outside world. The problem was the mind's attachment to external identity. This is why Buddha's teachings remain timeless. They do not merely teach survival. They teach liberation. Liberation from fear. Liberation from emotional dependence. Liberation from the prison of constantly needing to be accepted. And the path toward becoming mentally unbreakable begins with one difficult decision. You must stop abandoning yourself. Many people betray themselves daily without noticing. They say yes when they want to say no. They hide their truth to avoid criticism. They tolerate disrespect because they fear loneliness. They shrink themselves to fit into environments that were never meant for their growth. Slowly, this creates internal suffering. Because every time you betray your authentic self, your mind loses trust in you. And without self-trust, confidence collapses. This is why mentally strong people protect their inner alignment carefully. They understand something deeply. Peace is more valuable than approval. Read that again. Peace is more valuable than approval. Because approval is temporary. Peace is power. A peaceful mind thinks clearly. A peaceful mind reacts less emotionally. A peaceful mind cannot be easily manipulated. And this is exactly why inner peace is dangerous to a chaotic world. The world profits from insecurity. Insecure people buy more, compare more, compete more, seek attention more, depend on trends more. But a deeply peaceful person becomes difficult to control because they no longer need constant external confirmation to feel worthy. This is true freedom. And freedom begins when you stop making other people your mirror. Most people look into the reactions of others to decide how they should feel about themselves. If people praise them, they feel valuable. If people criticize them, they feel worthless. But Buddha taught that the external world is unstable by nature. Opinions change constantly. Human emotions change constantly. Social approval changes constantly. So why build your identity on unstable foundations. A mentally unbreakable person builds identity internally, through discipline, through awareness, through truth, through self-respect, not through applause. This is why solitude becomes powerful. Weak minds fear being alone, because silence forces them to face themselves. But strong minds use solitude for self-understanding. When you spend time alone, without distractions, without performance, without validation, you begin discovering who you truly are beneath the noise. And at first, this can feel uncomfortable, because many people have spent years performing versions of themselves for acceptance. But eventually, something beautiful happens. You stop needing to impress everyone. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop chasing people who do not value you. You stop panicking over rejection. And for the first time, your nervous system begins to relax. This is the beginning of emotional mastery. The Buddha once taught that holding on to attachment is like gripping a hot coal. You burn yourself while trying to hold it. Validation works the same way. The tighter you cling to approval, the more emotionally fragile you become. But when you release attachment, you discover inner stability, and stability creates power. Think about the strongest people you know. Truly strong people are rarely desperate for attention. They move calmly. They speak carefully. They do not constantly seek reassurance. Why? Because strength comes from internal grounding, not external noise. And here is something most people never understand. You do not need everyone to believe in you. You only need the courage to believe in your path. History is filled with people who were misunderstood before they were respected. If they had depended entirely on validation, they would have quit. That is why emotional independence matters so deeply, because the world will not always clap for your growth. Sometimes your healing will confuse people. Sometimes your boundaries will disappoint people. Sometimes your confidence will threaten insecure people. Let it. Not everyone is meant to understand your evolution. A flower does not ask permission before blooming, and your growth does not require universal approval. This is one of the greatest lessons hidden inside Buddhist wisdom. Stop seeking outside permission to become who you already are. The moment you realize this, your entire energy changes. You stop chasing. You stop forcing. You stop begging to be chosen. And instead, you begin building yourself quietly. Your habits improve. Your mind sharpens. Your emotions stabilize. Your standards rise. Your peace deepens. This is how mentally unbreakable people are created. Not overnight, but through daily awareness, daily discipline, daily detachment from unhealthy emotional dependence. And perhaps the most powerful transformation happens when you finally understand this. Rejection is protection. Sometimes people leave because they were not aligned with your future. Sometimes doors close because your path is changing. Sometimes losing approval is necessary for finding freedom. The ego fears rejection, but wisdom learns from it. The ego wants everyone to agree, but wisdom understands that authenticity naturally creates separation. Not everyone will walk with you, and that is okay, because your purpose is not to be accepted by everyone. Your purpose is to become fully awake to yourself, to live truthfully, to think clearly, to master your mind, to protect your peace, and to stop giving the world control over your emotional state. The strongest people are not those who dominate others. The strongest people are those who master themselves. That is the real meaning of mental strength. And Buddha's teachings continue reminding humanity of this timeless truth. When you no longer seek validation, you become free, free from fear, free from manipulation, free from emotional slavery. And in that freedom, you finally discover peace. So the next time you feel desperate for approval, pause for a moment, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, am I abandoning myself just to be accepted? That single question can transform your life, because true power begins the moment you stop needing everyone to see your value. The lion never turns around when small dogs bark, and a peaceful mind never loses itself trying to satisfy the noise of the world. Choose inner peace over external applause. Choose truth over performance. Choose awareness over emotional addiction. And slowly, you will become mentally unbreakable. If this message spoke to your soul, Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and become part of our journey here at Wisdom Hub Buddha, where ancient Buddhist wisdom meets modern life transformation. Stay mindful, stay disciplined, and never forget, your peace is your greatest power.